Yo, what is happening, Tape Tribe? It's time for Golden VCR. Howdy. Welcome to Broadcast 72. It's our 72nd birthday.
As people get older, they tend to become more concerned about safety. This has certainly been true with me. And since I have already had my 72nd birthday, I am far more concerned about safety than most people.
Hi, everyone. That's Haley. That's the dog. She is, Leica is eating vegetables. Hold on. This mic is now engaged.
All right.
It's now hot, if you want.
So I hate mouth noises unless it's coming from a pet. So let's get some of those ASMR crunchies.
I don't know how well that mic will work for that, but hopefully you hear something.
All right, that's the show.
Hooray. Thank you. Thank you, Haley. All right, now it is time. So we have it's Broadcast 72. We've made it to 72 years. We're now concerned about safety. I thought about there might be some good safety-themed tapes, although we already did watch the Safety Kids Safety Quiz show. But, as it happens, we have a slightly tight schedule this morning because I have a thing to do in 2 hours. So we're going to finish our 2 big box sets, finally. That's what I've decided. Starting out with, I know it's Memorial Day, an American holiday where we remember our war dead also, but we're going to do the Canadian Rockies and the Adirondack here on Train Time. So this is our third and final tape in this Reader's Digest box set of Scenic Rail Journeys of the Americas, the Canadian Rockies. Here we go. I mean, we will. Our last NASA tape is about the Challenger disaster, so we will be solemnly remembering some true American heroes. No hawk. Have y'all ever heard the expression "no hawk"? My mom said it all the time instead of like "no shit." And I think sometimes she would say the full version, which is "no hawk, Sherlock." But for years, she just kept saying "no hawk," and I did not understand what that meant. But I just assumed it was a normal thing. Yeah, that's what I figured. Let's open the thing. There we go. Let's find the tape. I'm flying by the seat of my pants here because I want to make sure that we get rolling on these tapes. Tape is playing. It's going to be Scenic Rail Journeys of the Americas. The Reader's Digest intro is one of my favorites, to be honest.
A train ride through the Canadian Rockies is the stuff that adventure is made of. We will pass majestic mountain tops and vast evergreen forests.
Oh, so when I was in the woods,
rivers and race along sparkling streams.
I've mentioned it briefly, I think, but I rode the Great Smoky Mountain Railroad.
On a thrilling side trip, we soar past crumbling snow cliffs.
I was on an open-air car.
Sprawling glaciers.
So you could, like,
Altogether, we'll experience
you're going over these old railroad trellises from the 1800s with, like, the trusses right there, and you were close enough to just stick your head out and die.
Rockies.
Oh, look, it's my commemorative tote bag from the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad. You too can ride it in Bryson City, North Carolina. But one of the things, our guide was great. They weren't that concerned about safety. They weren't like, make sure you stay inside at all times. They just trusted the human instinct to not get your head clipped off by a bridge. And that seemed to work pretty well.
Journeys.
It was really nice to be in an open-air car. And at the end, he was like, please visit our sister railroad, the Durango and Silverton,
Our train
out of Durango,
Jasper, Alberta,
wherever that
20
is.
miles from British Columbia, on a train called the Scenic. This is an area of unsurpassed beauty, dotted with crystalline lakes and dominated by towering mountain peaks. Between Jasper and Prince George, we are greeted by one breathtaking vista after another. The Scenic line runs for 700 miles through the scenic heart of British Columbia to the Pacific Ocean. The first day of our journey will take us to Prince George.
Thank you very much.
Our conductor today is Dave Burns. He knows the rivers and mountains that shape the adventures of a trip on the Scenic.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you look to the right here, you'll see Mount Robson.
Engineer
It's
Dave,
12,972 feet.
or conductor Dave. Was his name actually Dave?
The Fraser River is down below here, and we'll follow that all the way to Prince George.
Yeah, what regional
Fraser River flows
Canadian
for
accent
850
is that?
miles,
Canadians.
From its source in Yellowhead Lake all the way to the Strait of Georgia at Vancouver.
Is that a Saskatoon accent?
For our first adventure, the train drops us off right at
Is
the
that
Fraser.
a Sparwood accent?
Like so many rivers here, the Fraser is a salmon river.
Oh, Bill, I
But
got
it's
bad
also
news for you.
linked to a rich railroad history. To find out more, we'll go rafting with river guide Bruce Wilkinson.
We actually have a train coming on our tracks. The railway.
I
from
thought
the
it was going to
river
be River Guide Dave.
Directly to our right, you can see the two lines along the mountain. It was two separate railways were built along that ridge right here. They were built around 1909 to 1914 through this area. When the railway was being constructed, about every 3 to 5 miles of railway track, they would have some kind of a community. Throughout the bush there, you can find many remnants of the railway. It's all there. It's just we can't see it anymore because the buildings have been removed, the forest has grown up over it. You'd be amazed at what you could find all the way through to the coast again, as far as buildings and towns. And they just are no more, and they were such small places that there isn't a real big written history about them. Okay, so we're going to get out here to
Sasky.
have a look at some salmon. Oh, doesn't that water feel good? No. We got some here. If you come up here, you can see the salmon right here in front of us.
Yeah, this man's accent is quintessentially Canadian to my ears.
Chinook is the biggest, coho, sockeye, chums, and pinks. And this is the only one that can come this far. All 5 species behave the same way. They have to come to gravel to lay their eggs. They all have ailerons, and they all go to saltwater to live their adult lives and come back here to spawn and die. And all fish die at spawning, males and females.
It reminds me of Wayne's World.
We're back on the train again. Our entire journey is through a remote part of British Columbia, only settled late in the 19th century. The railroad brought the rail builders and the settlers that followed them all their supplies. It was their only connection to the outside world.
Well, the train was their lifeline. It was totally their lifeline. There was no other transportation or to get into these places because there was no highways, no roads into it, and it was totally done by rail traffic.
In the openness of the domed car, the scenic wilderness that was once so forbidding to 19th century travelers now appears as a pageant of natural beauty unfolding all around us.
And that will do the effect.
The Scenic recalls the early days of the railroad, even now, when it makes the occasional mail stop. Today we'll be delivering a letter.
We're in the
from
Canadian
Maryland
Rockies.
son Matthew.
We will then go to the Adirondack.
Yeah, Harry Holmes wanted me to deliver this letter to you, so
We'll be in America too.
there you go. He's, you know, him being trying to
The
be so
States,
cheap, he wants,
I mean.
just want to spend the price of a stamp.
Oh, that's great. No, I don't know whether I've ever met him, but we've been waving to him since about
Well, there you
59.
go.
So.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. He's quite a fellow, actually. Okay, it was very nice. We'll see you guys later, hey?
We'll see ya.
Is that the Canadian version of a handshake where you just go, hey? Okay, see you later, eh?
Our train whistle drifts over these empty, rugged mountains. Only the moose and other animals will hear our train passing.
How is Canadian rail travel, by the way? Is it basically Amtrak? Via rail or whatever?
Now the train brings us to one of the most thrilling adventures we'll have on the first
If
leg.
you want to get from like Saskatchewan
From
to
Valemount, we'll take a helicopter
Calgary to Toronto,
high up
let's
the
say,
mountains of Mount Robeson Provincial
and you
Park,
want to take a train to
and
get there,
centerpiece, the Berg Glacier.
is it expensive and impractical and slow? The same way that
Below us, a
inner city train travel in the U.S. is?
punctuated by narrow valleys and ominously shifting ice fields.
We have a lot of the same problems of like vast expanses of sparsely populated country.
Go right over top of Big B Ridge. I can't get tired of this. Sure is torquing out of that ice, isn't it?
He didn't say it's twerking out of that ice.
Here we are for another hike.
We arrive at a place as remote and different from those of our ordinary lives as the surface of the moon.
Yeah, so
Our experienced mountain guide is Vernon Umson.
I like to go single file.
that's my Amtrak experience too.
And when you don't see me, don't follow me.
Right.
Crevasses are deep fissures in the glacial ice. They pose serious dangers for the amateur hiker. A
That's-
fall into one of these crevasses could be fatal.
That's very spooky.
This is for me a very spiritual place, especially with.
I like how the guide is holding that old man by the scruff of the neck like a kitten to make sure that he doesn't topple into the crevasse. Let's see. This is. It said something about You'll step off the train to take a thrilling helicopter ride above glittering glacier fields.
Massive chunks of blue-white
Wherever there are glaciers in Canada, that's where we are.
and hurtle down into Berg Lake. The comfortable train with its food and services is far below us now. But fortunately, our adventure includes lunch at Berg Lake.
It's a nice spot down there for the lunch.
We got lots of moose burgers, glacier worm. Oh, this looks scary.
More than a mile above sea level, it's a real treat to be eating moose burgers among this remarkable scenery.
Any place be so beautiful.
They're getting revenge for all the sled dogs that have been trampled by moose. I'm for
I
it.
think coming up here, you get the cobwebs out of your brain.
That was an excellent day.
One final look at these majestic peaks, and then we're back on board the Scenic.
This is a small train. What is it, 4 cars?
The train soothes us after
3
a long
cars.
day's hike.
It's an engine and 3
as
cars.
we travel down out of the Canadian Rockies and head toward our first night's destination of Prince George. John Howarth is the year-round engineer on the Scenic for the Jasper to Prince George part of the journey. He's been operating locomotives for over 20 years, and he's a real product of the country.
My interest in the railway kind of goes back to when I was a little kid, because I grew up in a railway town, and my dad was an engineer. He worked for CN Rail at the time, and he drove steam engines. And when I was a little kid, I kind of always wanted to do that, and that's what I ended up doing. One of the earliest things I remember about the train is the steam engines that used to go roaring out of Jasper. One of our favorite things to do was to go out and put a big line of grease on the rail ahead of the steam engines, and they'd come out of Jasper with their heavy loads, and they'd be just pulling hard. If you can imagine, it'd be, and they'd hit that grease, and the wheels would just go, and they'd be stalled. They couldn't do anything, so they'd have to back up. One time,
we committed
hidden behind
anti-train acts of terrorism.
Thinking we were all clear, we all stood up and
we sabotaged the national infrastructure.
The rock, and he promptly took me over to a willow bush and cut a switch and switched me all the way home.
Kids will be kids.
When you take the train, there's just a certain charisma or a certain attraction that people have for the train to begin with. It has a mystique, and physically the train is spacious. You can get up and walk around. You can go and have a coffee, and some trains people go and have a drink. And for some reason, trains bring out the socialite in people. People that normally don't really talk, when they're sort of a captive audience on a train, they'll talk. And a lot of people that take the train will tell you they do it for that reason, that they've made some of the best friends they've ever had on the train. And people meet their mates for life on the train, and there's just some magic about taking the train that if you want to get somewhere quick, take the bus, but if you want to have a good time while you're getting there, take the train.
I want to ride on a choo-choo train. I want to ride all across the USA.
Prince George is a scenic city that sits at the crossroads of two railways. It was an important hub of the early Grand Trunk Pacific and is still a repository of railroad history.
Put some more wood on first.
We can learn about railroad's age of steam at the Central British Columbia Railway Museum and the equipment of this still working narrow gauge rail line. Ron Walker's steam engine is one of the more unique tourist attractions in the area.
Well, it was used on construction of the present-day CN line when it started out as the Grand Trunk Pacific.
All aboard!
The whistle on this thing is our little moneymaker.
There goes that whistle. And the conductor said, all aboard.
And it makes that loud honk honk.
It's more of a toot than a honk,
Let
son.
anybody know that we're running, you just start blowing that whistle and they'll become running.
Over there, we go, yay!
Roadbeds weren't required for these narrow gauge trains, so their tracks could be laid quickly and easily. They could go anywhere. Because they were so relatively small and lightweight, they were used for mining, logging, and construction of mainline railroads. Until the 1940s, steam provided the power for all rail engines. Back on the train at the start of our second day, we'll cross the Great Northern Plateau and travel from Prince George up to Smithers, through a landscape of wide mountain valleys and pristine lakes. This is Burns Lake, one of the literally hundreds of lakes and ponds that lie between Prince George and the coast mountains. Lakes like these, full of northern pike, rainbow trout, pickerel, and muskellunge, lure fishermen from all over the world. This one is called Millionaire's Pool because so many wealthy celebrities fish here. On more than one occasion, we are reminded how wild this country is. We get to see sights like this, a black bear lumbering across the tracks in front of us.
Sorry, you missed the bear because of the coast.
As the Skeena begins to climb again, we head past Smithers and toward a land of misty coastal mountains. This is the home of Native Americans, known here as First Nations people. 20 miles north of Smithers, the Buckley River rushes through steep, rocky narrows near the village of Mauricetown. The largest village of the Buckley Valley Indians once stood here.
That's quite a pole.
And members of the tribe still catch salmon at this 50-foot wide gorge. Sure-footed native fishermen have used dip nets, traps, and harpoons to pull salmon like this one out of these roiling waters for over 5,000 years. A salmon weighing 105 pounds was reported caught at this very spot. This second day of our Canadian Rockies rail journey brings us to Kitwan-Cool, a small First Nations village of the Gitskan tribe. In the 18th century, the Gitskan tribe controlled much of the fur trade along the rivers, from here over 100 miles inland, all the way to Prince Rupert on the coast. Today, the village is best known for its totem poles and their elaborately carved animals and spirit figures which record this people's history. Often an important incident in the life of a particular family is commemorated in these images. The spirit figure here possesses an arresting, mysterious quality.
The village of Ceballos struck me as odd because you don't expect to see Spanish place names in Canada.
Here you see him roughing out the eye of a raven for a new totem pole.
It has a population of 126.
Of the eye.
And it was named for Lieutenant Ciriaco Ceballos, a crew member aboard an early ship of the Tuscan explorer Alessandro Malaspina's expedition in the late 18th century.
Young men of the Gitskan tribe apprenticed themselves to Earl to learn the art of carving totems.
So it was named for a Spanish sailor that was sailing with an Italian explorer that originally landed in that part of Canada in 1798.
As long as Earl Mulden's poles survive, visitors will know that the Gitskan people had a vibrant culture in this place.
Which was step number one, I guess, in displacing the Gitskan people that we're now learning about. Good to see they're hanging on, and the Italians and Spanish really don't have much of a foothold in British Columbia.
Though this pole is decayed now, many last for 150 years or more.
Oh, he's so dapper.
On the train, once again, we pass over the 190-foot Sealy Gulch.
I mean, the Spanish are definitely good old Christian white people that did a lot of genocides just in different parts of the Americas.
The next bridge at 163
they're pretty brutal.
Crosses over our namesake, the Skeena River. We will follow the Skeena River all the way to our final destination at Prince Rupert.
Prince Rupert, capital of British Columbia. Oh, you mean Pouce-Coupe, capital of British Columbia.
But before we arrive, the train stops on the river for another backcountry adventure. We leave the train with two Austrian tourists who get off here to go fishing. Skeena Valley guide Terry Guerin will take them out on the river today.
You can see some fish right underneath there.
Rivers throughout British Columbia are renowned for their fabulous fishing. The waters of this province.
Oh, thank you for gifting us that, Rockies.
Fish, and more than 750,000 anglers.
I don't think I've seen Pouce-Coupe before.
Each year.
This is as far as you can go up one of the tributaries on the Skeena Valley. We've got sharp, high, 5,000
North Vancouver
cliffs coming right into the river. When you live in a city, you forget about the natural part of our life that we miss out on.
You don't see roads, there are no power lines.
No telephone.
No phone, yeah. No cars. It's just the wilderness. And quiet, peaceful.
Unberührte Naturen, ne?
He said nature's never been touched. If you go hiking in Austria, you see lots of people, and Here you can go hiking and you don't see anybody.
It is really magical. I walked for 10 miles
Nice looking fish.
like a month ago in the woods, and
Release emphasis on everything.
I didn't see a single soul for most of the walk.
Gently put them in. There
It was on like a beautiful scenic like switchback trail down the side of a mountain too. And I did run into one group of people, and they had 4 dogs with them. So I was like coming up to a blind corner on this mountain trail, and just this huge. I just out of nowhere see this huge furry animal running towards me, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm going to die." But it turned out it was a golden retriever.
Okay, guys, see you later. Have a good trip. All right. Yeah. Sit down and get the bill done.
Prince Rupert is Canada's most northerly Pacific port. On an island itself, it's a bustling port city. When this city was founded as the
Here, I can pull up the source code for that, actually. It's hard-coded in the chat bot.
becoming Canada's busiest Pacific port. But Vancouver easily retains that honor.
That's the source code for the BC command. It's like 4 lines of code.
Prince Rupert is the last stop of an unforgettable Canadian.
So there's just a hard-coded array of every municipality in British Columbia that I pulled from, that I manually scraped from Wikipedia.
On the Scenic has been full of adventures.
And then we compute a municipality index, which is an index into that array, by just getting a random integer and modulating it by the length of that array. Then we just pick that element and we print
over 3,000 miles
blank, capital of British Columbia.
Adventure, this time in the U.S.
Oh, we're moving to the Adirondacks now. So there's no waiting. If you see things more than once, it's a go.
A train called the Adirondack begins its journey in the historic Hudson River Valley and continues up into the spectacular Adirondack State Park.
My back end for this is all written in Go.
Handiwork of nature, as well as the classical works of human hands. We will discover remarkable views of the Hudson River and find some fabulous mansions hidden near her shores.
There we go. Here's a country. Now there's a train.
We will enjoy the pastimes of the present
Agency.
right down the road from the monuments of our
Look at that train. Look at those stripes.
Come and see what makes a trip on the Adirondack such a movable feast for the eyes.
We have rivers. We have trains that have not changed since the 70s.
The Adirondack leaves bright and early this morning.
Good morning. Where are you headed to? Albany. Either coach here, please.
Rick Palmer is our conductor today.
Rear end of Amtrak 69 to the head end.
Nice.
All clear on track number 5. Okay to depart New York's Penn Station, sir.
That right there, Penn Station, is why all Amtrak routes that go through New York City cannot
traversing the length of eastern New York
be double-deckers.
and ending in exotic Montreal.
I think they fixed that now because they've opened the Moynihan train terminal in Manhattan, so that Amtrak trains don't have to go through Penn Station anymore.
There you go. Thank you very much.
But it's not like Amtrak has money to get bigger trains. So
Stretching from its mouth at the Atlantic Ocean to the Federal Dam 15 miles above Albany.
New York is so strange to me.
Within a few minutes of leaving New York City, the ride offers us magnificent views just beyond the train's windows.
The northeast of the U.S. is just culturally very foreign to me.
All the way to Albany, the train will skirt the shoreline of the majestic Hudson River. The river was named for Henry Hudson, an Englishman who sailed
I know
up
the South.
the Dutch in 1609.
I'm familiar with the Midwest. I'm very familiar with California and the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest.
You might catch
the Northeast is just
for John Cronin. The Riverkeeper's mission is to track
all I
down
have about it are stereotypes.
who abuse the
Like
Hudson.
everyone's angry and they yell at you all the time.
I've been the Hudson River storekeeper since 1983. But I've been working on the Hudson since 1974. And it's a great job because it gets me out on the river. I participate in protecting not only the beauty of the Hudson, but the Hudson's culture and the aesthetic resources.
Hey, Arceus, thank you. 1,000 bits. Got some money from my parents for always staying home with their dog. Oh, here's some bits. Thank you.
One of the most beautiful sections of the river.
Something we haven't listened to in a while. All right.
As you travel through this part of the Hudson, you're traveling along these jagged mountain cliffs, the old rugged Hudson Highlands, and you're looking at them almost the same way that the Native Americans saw them, the same way that the colonists saw them. There's that great sense of taking a trip along the Hudson is taking a trip through American history.
John Cronin works hard to provide safer and better access to the Hudson River for all visitors who come to enjoy her beauty.
I love taking the train on the river, and by far my favorite trip, and of course I'm prejudiced, is along the river, and I never tire of it. It's such a wonderful ride that but the sense that you have is the sense of just being...
Arceus, I would suggest either We've Got Cake or 1-2 Fire Truck.
Instead of being propelled by an engine, being propelled by the...
I don't know if you have a preference. Otherwise, I'll pick whatever whatever seems appropriate when we get to the end of the train tape.
One of the first remarkable sights on our trip is Bannerman's Castle. Francis Bannerman was an arms dealer who bought up most of the weapons captured in the Spanish-American War.
Oh, the Silverton song is good. I don't have that one captured.
Country home and part arsenal between 1905 and 1918. In 1920, some of his weapons exploded here, severely damaging the castle.
Everyone needs a room full of gunpowder in their house.
The lower Hudson Valley offers us more than dramatic scenery. At our first stop in Tarrytown, we can take a number of sites.
Oh my God, it's Tarrytown.
And palatial estates.
Tarrytown on the Hudson.
This is Sleepy Hollow country. One of America's first great writers, Washington Irving, called Tarrytown home. He died in 1859 and is buried here, at the Old Dutch Church in one of the oldest cemeteries in the country. Irving wrote Rip Van Winkle and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow about this area, and firmly fixed this rural landscape in the 19th century American imagination. Irving purchased this country estate in Sunnyside in 1835. He described it as a little old-fashioned stone mansion as full of angles and corners as an old cocked hat.
We're in New York State
this
now.
This 24-acre property is only about 50 yards from the rail line that Washington Irving opposed at first, but on which he eventually became a grateful traveler.
Washington Irvingson.
Our next stop is at Lyndhurst,
Washington.
one of the country's most amazing Gothic revival mansions. It was constructed in 1838.
No, there are two segments on this. So we finished the Canadian Rockies, and now we're on to the Adirondack.
Financier J. Gould. North of
okay.
you can visit this house and mill at Phillipsburg Manor.
Arceus has decided cake.
Family who made a fortune in shipping in slaves lived here from late in the 17th century until just after the American Revolution.
Agent of Chaos. Beautiful. Well, thank you.
This
we'll get that going after this.
Estate at Kycut, meaning lookout. Kycut was built between 1907 and 1913 on a hilltop with panoramic views of the valley and the Hudson River below. Each year, almost 50,000 people come here to marvel at the opulent surroundings and to admire one of the best sculpture collections in the world.
Sorry, that last sculpture.
Was the founder of Standard
Modern sculpture has its merits and is aesthetically beautiful and everything, but like
for his parents and started the art collection.
When you show cherubs and Chinese lions and then cut to
was governor of New York State,
it's a shape.
Vice president. All of them lived here at Kycut.
A country house
outside New York.
The project director at Kaikut is Henry Joyce.
And this estate at Kaikut is actually one of the last of the great Hudson River estates. The house was built here because John D. Rockefeller, who moved the offices of Standard Oil to New York in the early 1880s and wanted a country house outside of the city. His son really commissioned many of the sculptures for the gardens, including the Oceanus figure, the Roman god of the oceans. Junior was more interested in art collecting, and it was his son, Nelson, who was particularly interested in contemporary works of art. Nelson Rockefeller's biggest impact at Kaikut was with the 70 pieces of sculpture that he used in the gardens, which he collected over a 30 or 40-year period, including major European and American artists of the 1960s and 70s.
The opulent displays of wealth of the 1%.
At Kaikut is called the Bathers.
Truly worth celebrating.
Was inspired by people on the beach in the south of France where Picasso lived. In the Kaikut piece you see a diver about to dive off a diving board and other figures. It's an amazing post-cubist piece, typical of his repertory at that period. We see at Kaikut also a piece called Spiny by Alexander Calder.
Spiny.
Which was actually commissioned for the site. You see the sculpture looking towards the Hudson River. It was made in the early 1960s from a sketch that Alexander Calder had made in 1941, which Rockefeller owned when he moved to this house.
Thank you so much, Rockies, for your support. 1,000 bits. Since people wanted it, we'll go Fire Truck 2. I have not heard of Albion Online.
Tracks are train
Is that an MMO about England?
Which is only a few miles from Springwood, Franklin Delano Roosevelt's home. When FDR died in 1945, his body was brought back to his beloved Springwood by train, and he is buried there, along with his wife Eleanor, in the Rose Garden. Our last stop before the Adirondack Mountains is near Annandale-on-Hudson.
Spiky. Spiny. Spiky.
A short ride from the train is Montgomery Place,
Spiky Spiny.
which was founded in 1802 by Janet Livingston Montgomery. Her illustrious family built over 40 mansions in this area.
Why is this segment of the train tape just about rich people's mansions?
Office to George Washington.
This is a lot of rich people's mansions.
Its grounds may be the most beautiful of any estate along the Hudson River.
Not all the same thing.
Timothy Steinhoff is the director of...
I'm learning a lot about upstate New York.
Every full moon from May through September,
Their primary attractions are rich people's mansions.
The garden at twilight, so that people can really enjoy this landscape at its best time of day. The light is very interesting. And as the days cool, the fragrance of the flowers begins to rise, and it culminates with dessert and coffee over on the north pavilion of the house, which is really one of America's first great outdoor living rooms. So it's a real nice chance for people who are interested in gardens or history or architecture to just take in the atmosphere and enjoy being together.
Yeah,
lots of comments back on how
I think of like
sort of
the Iroquois Confederacy, maybe.
And the whole evocative sense that all the colors and scents that it really is a sort of out-of-body experience.
That would be something I'd be interested in learning if I were in that part of the country. Probably more so than rich people's houses. But rich people's houses are also, like, cool. Because cool houses are cool. Cool art collections are cool.
Romantic landscapes and
It's
historic homes of the lower Hudson Valley.
You know.
We're heading farther north into the Adirondacks, which begin in the foothills near Saratoga Springs.
Just looks like the Biltmore.
We pass Albany, the dynamic and powerful capital of New York State, on our way.
And it's gone. Very dynamic and powerful it was. See, no observation car because they departed from Penn Station.
Crystal, can I have that for you? Thank you so much. It's very nice to have you again. Take care. Travel with us again soon.
Okay, definitely. Bye-bye.
A town of only about 30,000 people in the off-season, Saratoga Springs can easily double in population during the summer. It has always been the quintessential American resort. In the 19th century, everyone, with or without money, came here to play. And the architecture they left behind displays the grandeur of that time. For well over 300 years, people have come here for the natural beauty.
I have limited experience with New Yorkers.
The mineral springs.
I would describe them as brusque, which is not necessarily unfriendly.
1930s and
They're just not going to be fake friendly to you the way that Southerners or Midwesterners will, or Californians.
In the Great Hall of Springs.
Oh, I know. I'm musing myself on
1964, when the first track was opened.
my cultural blind spots about the Northeast.
Each August in Saratoga, everyone becomes a handicapper.
There aren't a lot of places where they have horse racing, but more importantly, there aren't a lot of places where the tradition of horse racing goes back as far as it does here, and that the track is...
Is that Niles from Frasier?
And that culture and the horse set is part of the development of the city, and you feel it everywhere you go. It feels like you're back in a different era.
David Hyde Pierce is
it's David Hyde Pierce.
Niles Crane on the Emmy Award-winning television show Frasier. David grew up in Saratoga
Big
Springs.
Apple, buddy.
I think if you get on the train, you have to get off at Saratoga. It was sort of formed as a spa resort, and still has that element, and you can go and do that. You have to see the Bachelor Mansion. It's a bizarre, unique, and wonderful example of elaborate Victorian architecture, as well as all of the magnificent houses around town. If you just drive around town, that's one thing you have to do. Certainly go to the races if it's racing season. In the larger sense, it's a place where people can come and just soothe themselves in a beautiful setting, in an unusually rich cultural environment of the ballet and the orchestra, and still have the quiet of a small town.
From Saratoga, it's a short ride on the train up to Glens Falls, a city which sits right at the edge of the Adirondack State.
David Hyde Pierce. Yeah, more or less. I'll buy it, sure.
The air gets a little more crisp as we start up into the mountains, and a lot thinner
Oh.
as we take a ride at the Adirondack Balloon Festival. The annual event attracts hundreds of balloonists and thousands
I am
of
entirely blind to horse racing nuance. Interesting. Human flight. You'll love to see it. Oh, the Canadians.
Here you can find just about any size, shape, style, color, or species.
Wait, is that just, what is...
To spirit you up into...
That balloon just says Canada, and there's an 800 number. Is that just the phone number for Canada? Does that just connect you to the Prime Minister?
Now we truly start into the Adirondacks, the land of over 2,000 lakes and ponds.
It just connects you to a random Canadian household.
Which guards the southern tip of Lake Champlain and is one of the most
It's part of your mandatory civil service as a Canadian to serve on the Canadian Tourism Board
Out to
hotline.
the west and north for the better part of a mile, you have roughly concentric lines of fortifications. Things like redoubts and batteries, little mini forts, connected often by a covered way, which is a ditch about the height of a man, and it allows you to move easily back and forth among these fortifications without being observed. The fortress has a central structure that's a rectangle. On each corner, you see a diamond-shaped bastion. And those are very useful devices. They give you pretty much 100% visibility all the way around the edge of the fort. You can see everyone and anything that goes by, but it can also be used as a point of last defense.
Oh, this is definitely educational, yeah.
Originally built by the French in 1755, the fort was taken over by the British after the French and Indian War. Near the start of the American Revolution, Benedict Arnold, Ethan Allen, and the Green Mountain Boys led a successful dawn raid on the fortress that secured a first victory for the rebels, even though they had to abandon the fort to the British.
Is that a confirmed bingo win for Deb? Excellent. 1,000 points. Congrats.
From the cannons of Ticonderoga, the train heads toward Port Henry. For this part of our journey, the tracks hug the western shore of Lake Champlain. The lake was named for Samuel de Champlain, who was exploring here in 1609, the same year that Henry Hudson was charting the Hudson's tidal flow up to Albany. For most of its length, this gorgeous lake establishes the northern boundary between New York State and Vermont. The water, mountains, and sky provide spectacular views for the next 50 miles. Sue Vale is a regular passenger from Glens Falls.
And I come to the train when I feel I need some inspiration and get things in perspective. The train is kind of my psychologist. I ride the train, listen to the whistle and the clickety-click, and I love it. I find it very soothing, very relaxing. Just sitting and looking out the windows is fabulous because there's so much out there to see. I'm happy on the train. It doesn't matter where it's going. I'm just happy to be in the train.
Ladies and gentlemen, the body of water next to us is Lake Champlain, 122 miles of it. The sixth largest lake in the United States, the largest lake outside of the Great Lakes.
I wouldn't think it's cheaper, actually.
Adirondack have looked out at this water and thought they saw something a bit unusual.
I guess if you're in the Northeast,
Fort Henry claims Lake Champlain's residents.
It's pretty cheap to get from one town to another on Amtrak.
Champ, as the legendary creature is known, has been seen by lots of people around here, starting with Samuel de Champlain himself in 1609. Just as with Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, people have described Champ as a large sea animal, about 30 feet long, with a long neck and a relatively small head. The scientists call this animal a plesiosaurus, and there have been numerous scientific expeditions, both here and at Loch Ness, that claim to have located sonar images of something quite large moving under the water. So as we pass by Port Henry, remember to keep your eyes open and watch the surface of the lake.
Okay, folks, station is Westport. Watch your step. Take care. Thanks. See you again.
Our next stop is at Westport, which is the Adirondacks jumping off point for Lake Placid.
Oh, it's Champy.
Region.
Bye, Sue.
Bye, Craig.
See you again.
Yep,
take care.
We love Champy.
The 1932 and 1980 Winter Olympic Games were held here at Lake Placid, and U.S. figure skaters still practice here at the Olympic Arena. This famous resort in the middle of the Adirondacks is actually on Mirror Lake. Lake Placid's a perfect village for shopping, dining, and sightseeing, and a good base of operations for fishing, hiking, or a boating trip into the Adirondack wilderness. Between the Civil War and the Great Depression, many wealthy families bought large tracts of land in the Adirondacks. To match the spa houses in Saratoga and the ocean retreats at Newport, they hired local craftsmen to build great camps for them, with expansive lodges and outbuildings made from native materials. The term roughing it took on different meaning in these estates. The owners were afforded every conceivable luxury, even in the heart of the dense forest. Most of these sylvan retreats had large entertainment rooms for those times when visitors didn't want to commune with nature. Though the styles of the great camps are usually eclectic, the best of them mirror the rustic environment surrounding them. Upper Saranac Lake is one of the larger lakes in the Adirondacks, with over 100 miles of shoreline and 5,500 acres of water surface. Almost half of the lake is set aside as forever wild forest preserve, and over 500 mostly single-family camps occupy the rest of the area.
Oh, Ogopogo, he's so precious and drippy.
One of the great camps that is still in use here was formerly known as Camp Wenundra. It was designed in the early 1930s for William Rockefeller by the architect William Diston. Set on the point, it is one of the most fashionable and exclusive resorts in the Adirondacks. Let's pause for a moment here to savor the peaceful sounds and sights of the Adirondacks. Our next stop on this rail trip brings us to one of the most popular tourist attractions in the Adirondacks. Often referred to as the Grand Canyon of the East, the Ausable Chasm is truly a wonder of nature. For countless centuries, the Ausable River has carved a 60-foot deep channel through these rocks, creating remarkable sandstone cliffs. The general manager of the Ausable Chasm Company is Patricia Stone.
We've been in continuous operation since 1870. The chasm remains a natural attraction where people can actually go and see the handiwork of nature. I think they experience a walk back in time, an area that has really remained untouched by any modern forces. The rock formations have been here long before any of us have been around. Elephant's Head would be one. It is a natural rock formation which definitely resembles the head of an elephant. And another one would be Jacob's Well. It was carved by, or created by, the swirling forces with possibly a small pebble to begin with, and it's made a hole about 6 feet deep and probably 3 feet in diameter. I think anybody that's from a metropolitan area can't believe the peace and serenity of the Adirondacks in general. And they're really amazed that so much of it does remain forever wild in its natural state.
Back on board the train, we watch the terrain flatten out as we approach the province of Quebec, extending all the way to the northernmost boundary of Hudson's Bay.
All right, we're back in Canada.
523,000 square miles, and is Canada's largest province.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. As you can see, we are just going over the St. Lawrence River with the skyline of Montreal off to our right, the final destination point for this evening's train.
With over 3 million inhabitants, Montreal is Canada's second largest city. Boasting the largest French-speaking population in the New World, Montreal is a romantic European town with stunning cathedrals and stately architecture.
I've been to
But it is
Montreal.
also a thoroughly cosmopolitan city.
I've been to that park.
While Montreal is our gateway to Canada, it is also our last stop on this Adirondack excursion. Our rail journeys through the Canadian Rockies and on the Adirondacks have shown us incredible mountain ranges and river valleys, railroad towns and historic forts, palatial estates, and storybook cottages, and more than 1,000 miles of breathtaking vistas. What better way to travel through the Canadian Rockies and the Adirondacks is there than on America's scenic rail journeys? Thanks for riding with us.
Yay! Thank you, Reader's Digest. What have we learned about Canada and and New York? Well, hey, it's Broadcast 72, which means it's our 72nd birthday, so we need a birthday cake to celebrate. So thank you to Arceus. We've got both cake and and we've got 1-2 fire truck.
Quite right.
Well, why didn't you say so? They've got cake! They've got cake!
Thank you, Jay Linebacker, for gifting us up to you. Still have Zoidberg.
Grab your dancing shoesies.
Do the elephant what to say?
Shake your train caboose.
Everybody, we got cake. Nothing could be sweeter.
That cake had Big Band meter.
Raise your hands and move your feet.
Everybody, we got cake. 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 Man, the joint is jumping.
There's so much Ella bumping.
This beat here sure is thumping.
Everybody, we got cake.
Hey, cat, you ain't joking.
This pachyderm groove is smoking.
This band's so hot I'm soaking.
Everybody, we got cake. We got cake. We got cake. We got cake.
Oh, hey, thanks for letting us have my party here.
Oh, you're welcome, old chap. It turned into quite a party after all. That cake was absolutely inspiring. I don't suppose I could get the recipe for my wife.
Quite right.
Well, all my recipes are back home in my kitchen. But if you could help us find our way back home, I could give it to you then.
What a smashing idea! Are you ready to go then, chaps?
I'm ready. Me too.
All set. Wait, where's Patches? I'm right here. I figured we should wrap up my present before we go. If one of these pachyderms got a whiff of this sneasel bush, we'd have spent the rest of my birthday on the moon.
Bye. 1, 2, 5 truck, 3, 4, 5 truck, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I am muted. Thank you.
Jump on board and away she goes.
This is our first. This is the debut of this song as a clip.
If you listen to the bell, then you sure can tell it's a fire truck.
Happy 282nd birthday, Peter Gabriel.
4, 5, 6 along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 along. They're coming down the road, better move out the way. It's a fire alarm. They gotta drive fast so they can save the day. It's a fire alarm. Stand back, sure can tell it's a fire alarm. 1, 2, firefighters, 3, 4, firefighters, 1, 2, 3, 4, firefighters. In a fire truck, in a fireboat, firefighters. Flying through the air, running through the smoke, firefighters. And if you ever been saved, then you know they're brave firefighters. In a 1, 2, fire truck, 3, 4, fire truck, 1, 2, 3, 4, fire truck. Jump on board and away she goes. It's a fire truck. Pull up the ladder and drag out the hose. It's a fire truck. If you listen to the bell, you sure can tell it's a fire truck. 1, 2, fire truck, 3, 4, fire truck, 1, 2, 3, 4, fire truck. Jump on board and away she goes. It's a fire
Yeah,
truck.
remember your fire safety, kids.
Pull up the ladder and drag out the hose.
Be sure you got fresh batteries in your smoke detectors.
Sure can tell it's a fire truck.
Make sure you have an unexpired fire extinguisher in your kitchen. You know how to use it. Hard Hat Harry's Fire Trucks for Kids. Yeah, that was you, Brad. Broadcast 52.
Hey kids, if you want some fun and adventure, be sure to look for more of my...
That's what I wanna be when I grow up to be a man.
Woman. I don't know. Do y'all hear the woman? Because for me it cuts out, but I think that's just like the buffering on OBS. Woman. So, we have finished the box set of Scenic Rail Journeys. I'm making a slight adjustment to our itinerary today because I was going to do the last of these tapes, which is 60 minutes, but I need something slightly shorter because I believe in being punctual, and I have a social engagement at noon. So, what we're going to do, I figured, I don't actually know if this is a cartoon. It may not be. I think it might be cut from live footage, but nevertheless, it seems like appropriate for Saturday morning cartoons. I'm saving the American stuff for July 4th. Memorial Day is about remembering people who have died in our wars. And in practice, it's more about, like, eating hamburgers. But we have, like, the Proudly We Hail and Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Like, those don't strike me as particularly Memorial Day themed in either of those respects. So what I'm thinking is this tape. I'm in the most American move ever. I'm suppressing democracy and just picking the tape that I want to play. So Sly, the Orphan Fox, is not found. Did I misspell something? Oh, put a hyphen in there. Sly, the Orphan Fox. Because it's 30 minutes.
It's gonna get dark soon.
Royalties earned by the sale of this video are used by the Wildlife Unlimited Foundation, a nonprofit organization to create high-quality educational programming for America's school children. Sly, the Orphan Fox. Visit the real world of Sly, the Orphan Fox, a delightful tale of a young fox alone in the forest. See how Sly learns to hunt, and that he is not so all alone as he encounters several other young animal friends in the big forest. This is distributed by Scimitar Entertainment of Plymouth, Minnesota. Produced by the Wildlife Unlimited Foundation of Vesper, Wisconsin. And it was not rewound, but I rewound it while you weren't looking. So here we go. It's time for Sly the Orphan Fox, which will be our final tape today. It's a short stream today. Unless it doesn't work, and then we'll pick something else. It's the old Scimitar intro. Oh, it's a different Scimitar intro, damn. Or else the color signal just hasn't been picked up yet.
Promotional consideration to the American Airlines, where there is something special in the air. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there. And my Cherokee chief takes me there. This story is unusual. Unusual because Sly was born the only pup this year, when most litters are 3 to 8.
Oh, this is great.
Unusual because his father died just after he was born. He just never returned from a hunting trip one early February morning. Just 7 weeks later, his mother, having nursed and cared for him all this time, was off on a hunting trip all of her own. Road kills are always appealing to the fox, as a fox by nature is a scavenger, and this was too good to be true.
What a delightful tale for kids.
Birds of any kind seem to be the fox's favorite food. The road was clear. Now to take it home. A wild turkey, such a large bird, and this would mean food for her and her pup for many days to come.
What a delightful tale for young children.
He's all alone, an orphan fox. And so the stage is set for the unusual story of a lone fox pup facing the dangers and joys of life, the story of Sly, the orphan fox.
Sorry, the tone.
Crafty, cunning,
the tonal whiplash.
Clever, all words that describe the fox. Also the very meaning of Sly. And Sly would need all of this and a whole lot more if he was going to make it.
Oh, this is a Bella Bunny tape. Thank you, Bella.
Morning came, and still no sign of his mother.
Where is Vesper, Wisconsin? It's in Wood County, Wisconsin.
Reluctantly,
Northwest of Wisconsin Rapids.
Over to another hole.
South of Wausau.
His mother had taken him there lately to eat. Sly's mother was a good provider, and there was a lot of leftovers scattered around the entrance to the secondary den. Although foxes can and do catch fish from time to time, more often than not, they prefer to scavenge dead carp and other undesirable fish left by man along the banks. Checking the remains by the fox's den, we learn a lot about what foxes eat, but must remember that much of what is here was scavenged, not killed by the fox. But where was his mother? Sly was getting a little anxious by now. She should have been back a long time ago. Sly kept getting more and more nervous all the time. He kept sniffing the air for the telltale sign of his mother's approach, but there was nothing on the air. He checked out the den. Culverts are a natural hole for the fox, either to cross.
This is just such a wild,
or to spend some time in.
A wild way of characterizing what's happening here. I would expect it to be like a sad story. And this guy's just like, yeah, his mother died. She got hit by a car, and now he's snoofing around trying to smell her. And little does he know she's never coming back. Yeah, what a delightful little critter, huh?
All of this was very interesting, but Sly wanted his mother, and if she wasn't coming back, then he'd go after her. She went up this road just yesterday. So with just one quick look back, he was off.
Off to find his dead mother.
Journey of life. Just how long that journey would be up to Sly, and Sly alone.
4 hours before Sly got hit by another car.
Natural instincts and all of the fortitude he could muster just to stay alive. Sly always took a certain way home, over the ridge and across the log. Try to imagine meeting up with this character. Well, that's exactly what happened to Sly. Couldn't figure out exactly where he was.
The G-pad.
Go over here and shake a stick at him.
I also, the American Airlines slogan, "There's something special in the air,"
By the time Sly got back to the log,
just seems oddly unsettling
was headed back
for
at
an
him.
airline slogan.
Well,
Like, we put something in the air. We're not telling you what, though.
Just act as if he wasn't here. Okay, it was working. Now if he'd just hurry up a bit.
We put a little something special in the air filtration system for the cabin air.
Ouch, that hurt. Sly decided he'd better get a different way to go home tonight. And another strange scent caught his attention. Again, he couldn't figure out quite what it was. Was he under here? No, there he was. A young coyote had come up from behind him.
More
Sly
cute
was in no
baby
mood
animals.
to meet up with this guy. Coyote wasn't exactly anxious for a confrontation either.
Little
So he
puppy.
started to go the other way.
Little coyote pup. And big old paws. He reminds me of the 72 Candles hunting chair man, the tree stand guy.
Porcupine.
Just like the Wisconsin version of that in his narration style.
The porcupine figured it was getting a little busy down
Porcupine.
there, and he started to climb the nearest tree. But he just wasn't going to rush things. That coyote would just have to wait.
Whoops.
Here, a second, something's wrong. Got something under my arm.
Klotz. This is Sly, the Orphan Fox. In the first few minutes of which we watch this fox's mother get killed by a car while trying to retrieve a dead turkey from the road.
Figured there was nothing doing. He didn't want anything to do with that porcupine. He had already learned his lesson with them.
Is porcupine the like, is that a standard Wisconsin pronunciation?
Yet that was the way that he wanted to go.
Is that how people say it
Porcupine,
there?
thinking that he had left, started back down the tree. Careful now. He had to be sure of his footing. The coyote had
I mean,
been
I'm from where people call
and when he seen him
the
come
thing
back down
that's
the
on
tree,
top of your house that the smoke from the fireplace goes out of a chimbley.
he sure wasn't going to go past that way.
So it's not like
So he took a little detour.
it's not like I'm judging. Regional pronunciations are varied and cool.
Then the going got a little rough, but finally he made it around the brush. Anything was better than meeting up with that porcupine again. In the meantime, Sly was back down by the water. He had found a little pond just off of the main stream where there was a lot of frogs. Frogs normally lay their eggs in these quiet, stagnant pools, little mud holes, and the young emerged from there. Now, Sly was going to have some.
Well, it's only a fire hazard because you as a society decided to stop doing child labor with
There was plenty
and
of
hiring boy
and they were easy to
chimbley
catch.
sweeps to come sweep your chimbleys.
And on this day, he had caught and ate enough. He had had his fill. Now he was going to play. These frogs were a lot of fun, and with just a little of encouragement, they would jump way up in the air, and Sly would imitate them by jumping and pouncing at them, just to see him jump again. A large snapper
Aw,
watched
look at that.
carefully. That fox was a little too close for comfort. But Sly had no idea the turtle was nearby. He was too engrossed in playing with his frog.
I'm worried about Sly. I don't think we've seen him eat anything, and his mother is dead. But he does appear to have grown a lot, so I think we're skipping some time here.
Still, the turtle kept a watchful eye on him. And when the fox would move in a certain direction, the turtle would turn so too, and watch him closer. As usual, Sly was having a ball. This frog had turned out to be a heck of a lot of fun.
Oh, he did eat the dead fish, yeah. Gave him strength. I like his black socks. Oh, a little foreskin turtle. He's so cute. That's a scientific name for it.
Sly may not have known that the turtle was there, but he sure kept him dragging that prehistoric tail around in circles. When the frog started getting tired, Sly would just throw him up in the air. Now, Sly sure was having a lot of fun, but the frog wasn't.
I don't know if you can turn off auto mod. You probably can, but it's a source of comedy. Just seeing what it decides to ban. So I'm leaving it on anyway.
Well, if the frog wasn't going to move around and jump around, he'd just maybe have to save him for later.
Just bury the frog alive. That's great.
Just dig a hole, put him right down here.
Boy, what a good digger that fox is.
And he checked and rechecked. Was he really in there?
Is he dead yet? Ooh, yeah, we're gonna have to see if war crimes are allowed.
Sly kept checking and rechecking. Then he decided, was he really in there? I'd better take
they
a
are.
look. Yeah, there he was. Let's cover him back up again then. Then Sly noticed a turtle. Boy, that guy was big. In typical fox style, Sly circled the turtle.
I don't know if we're ever gonna get... Like, they set up all this stuff about Sly's mom dying, but I don't think we're gonna get, like, a cathartic moment where he processes her death.
This guy was big. Wonder if he wanted to play. Yow! That really hurt. Sly would carry the scar on the end of his nose for the rest of his life. He would also carry a healthy respect for snapping turtles and give them a lot of room from now on. In another part of the woods, where Sly had not hunted yet, lived the wild turkeys. They lived and nested up in the hills, under the large oak trees.
Oak trees.
Wild turkeys usually have large broods and incubate the eggs by
Incubate.
setting on them and turning them with their beak from time to time, and pulling them under them with their big wings. And this hen was having a hard time getting so many eggs under her at one time. second hen approached quietly. The second hen didn't even disturb the first one.
Okay. I don't know what I expected to get.
Well, now Sly had moved into this area. First thing he found was a wild turkey on a nest. First thing he did
Oh, Bella.
was the turkey. She acted as if she was wounded or hurt and took him for a romp through the woods. When Sly figured out that he couldn't catch her, back to the nest he came.
Inkster.
Maybe there was something here. Then
Yeah,
he got all excited.
That's pretty wholesome.
There was a lot of eggs here. Too many to count, really. But what to do with all these eggs? Sly knew the mother would be back soon, and he couldn't eat all the eggs anyway. Sly's instincts took over. If a fox has more food than it needs, it stashes it.
Oh, it's so cute how they Leica does this in the
Digs a hole,
blankets on the
puts
couch.
the egg in, and then covers it up real good.
They'll be like perfectly folded down just so she's making no progress, and she'll just keep doing this.
Sly also knew that he had to get them all out of there before the mother got back.
Trying to dig a hole to put her
He
eggs
had
in.
to hurry. She'd be back soon, so he started burying them a little closer to the nest. Any place, just to get them out of here.
It is very cute to see a fox with an egg in its mouth digging a hole.
And he'd hurry back and get another one. And he decided if one was fast, maybe two, but that didn't work. Take one and hurry back. As it turned out, Sly also had another reason for hiding the eggs and burying the eggs. He couldn't really break them with his teeth. Something about the shape of them, he just couldn't get the right pressure. So by burying the eggs and then coming back for them later when they was partially rotten and partially decayed, then he would dig them up and try again. If it didn't work, he would bury them again. Sooner or later, they would decay far enough that he could break them. Sometimes he'd drop them. If they broke, he ate them. If they just went for a roll, he'd pick them up and bury them again.
Yeah, do foxes remember exactly
He had to hide them good.
where their holes
Another
are? I
animal
assume
might
so.
come along and steal his food. So he'd bury him, and he'd quickly look around. Was anybody watching? Then he'd check and recheck. Everything had to be just right. Nobody watching. Few more leaves on it. But Sly found only a few of their nests, and for the most part, they were safe.
Little turkey chick.
And the hens hatched their eggs naturally. Sometimes it was as if food fell right out of the sky. Like this young blue jay that fell to the ground before it could fly.
Oh.
But for the most part, it was hard work. Foxes very seldom walk. They're always trotting or stopping occasionally and smelling the air, or digging a little when they hear a sound or smell something close. Maybe they think it's a mouse or something else that's very close to the surface, but then they carry on. Sly still missed his mother, of course, but most of the time as he ran now, He dreamt of a brother. He dreamt of how nice it would be to have a brother to run with and to hunt with. Of course, Sly had no way of knowing he was growing up. So he still dreamt of himself as a young pup. But now he also thought of himself as being the one more grown up. His brother always wanting to play. But his instincts told him he was getting older, and there was less time for play and more serious hunting to be done.
Yeah.
Sly had no way of knowing that the very hard months of winter were ahead.
They're trying very hard with the writing.
Told him to hunt hard and build up his strength and his body fur as much as possible. So he kept trotting fast, hunting as he went, covering as much ground as he could every day.
From what it sounded like,
Cover every inch of the woods, back and forth.
This guy is a wildlife photographer who also decided to just,
possibly could.
you know,
Always looking.
do the storytelling too.
Of his prey. He left no stone unturned. Then one day, an old rock pile caught his attention.
He's like outsider folk art David Attenborough.
Along the edge of the woods, by an old fence row. Rock piles meant mice, and mice were the main part of a fox's diet. And mice were the most plentiful food in this area. He was in there all right. Just how to get him out, that was the right question. It wasn't going to be easy. Sly circled the rock pile to find a better way. He listened and he smelled from every angle. Just how do you get him out? That was the question. Well, digging always worked in the past. No, you wasn't going to dig in those rocks. Mouse felt safe. Sly circled again and came closer again from the back. He started eating grass. This is one of the fox's favorite ways of fooling its prey. He'd just pretend that he didn't know anything was there. They even intentionally turned their head away, but always kept an ear turned to the rocks. Just like radar, they'd listen for any movement. When the mouse didn't come out, Sly moved a little farther away. He'd go to the next tree and eat the grass there, but always keeping his attention to the rock pile. Well, it worked. While the fox was away, the mouse would come out to play. Now Sly knew just where he was. He was close to the back. Just a little digging, and voila! He threw him right out of there. But where did he go?
I love Casio keyboard MIDI hoedown. Kill that mouse.
Got him. Now, while Sly was busy with the first mouse, another decided to use this time to escape from the front door. If he could just make it to the safety of the leaves, maybe he would make it all right.
It's such a screeching and tinny MIDI fiddle sound. Mouse, you were in a house made of stone, and now you're going to a house made of sticks. This is literally the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Had finished hatching their brood. The hens usually move very slowly the first day, very low to the ground. This allows the chicks to stay very close when they need the warmth.
Is Sly gonna murder this whole turkey family now? I was an orphan, so I will make these chicks orphans. Also, is there going to be any more with the brother? It wasn't clear if Sly wanted a brother or Sly had a brother.
Sometimes, if they're getting a little
It's
too
like
close,
Sly wishes he had a brother,
themselves
and then it
into
started
the
talking about
fingers of their mother's breast.
the dynamics that Sly imagined having with his brother, as if he actually had a brother.
Sly was becoming a very proficient hunter in this area, and he was back again. Only this time, when he chased the hen off the nest, he didn't chase her so far. He was right back to the nest. When he saw what was there this time, his body shook with excitement. The eggs were hatching. Some of the chicks were partially out of the eggs. This was a real treat. He ate what he could, and again buried the rest. All the ones that hadn't hatched had to be buried before the mother got back.
It's the Mother Nature series. This is Mother Nature do be like that. Although it does seem like it's going to be a fun, like Cinderella-esque story with squirrels and rabbits and
The wild turkeys
fun.
hatch naturally, and their mothers take care of them and teach them how and what to eat, how to fend for themselves. And many can be seen from time to time following their mothers, busily eating insects and small bits of grasses. But Sly's favorite food was rabbit. Not only his favorite food, but his favorite hunt.
Rabbit.
He enjoyed the challenge, the chase. It seemed to bring out the very best in him. And on this particular occasion, Sly came to his favorite log. He had found a lot of rabbit trails here, and today the scent of rabbit was all around. He couldn't figure out where to begin. The scent was all around. He looked inside the log. He looked over the log. He couldn't see anything. Then he took a sweep to the right. No luck out there. Then to the left. He was almost back when he caught sight of him. A couple quick jumps and the chase was on. These rabbits knew the area well, but so did Sly. The old log was a natural bridge. So over and around it and through it they went.
This is not the best wildlife photography. This is a guy with a camcorder in the woods.
The rabbit finally hid in a brush pile, but Sly dove right in on top of him. They were off again and back through the log. Sly, too. This slowed him down just enough to let the rabbit get far enough ahead to swing around unseen and back through the log.
That's a big old hair.
To a tree and sit still and rest. Sly had got a little behind the last time he saw him. He was right here. Let's try it again. Sly made a quick circle around the site. Nothing. No, he's not in that log either. Just where did he go? Oh, there he is. Sly was becoming a very efficient hunter.
Well, there it is. He bagged him.
But mice was still his mainstay. Every rock pile and every log pile had mice. All he had to do was find a brush pile and listen a little bit and then nab one.
I mean, it's also just the only, like, the natural,
It wasn't as much fun as chasing rabbits.
the only way for this fox to, like, feed himself and survive according to the natural order of this ecosystem. Nom 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 nom. Tasty mouse.
If every old rock pile and every brush pile had mice, so did every old rotten stump. And today this stump smelled like it had mice all over it.
The interesting thing to me is just that, like, you know, it's deliberate. It explicitly says it's a delightful tale of a young fox, and it starts out with this like sob story about his mother dying, and then it's nothing but like, here's how he's killing this animal. Here's how he's killing a different animal.
Mouse number 2.
They could have just marketed this as foxes are good at killing.
But then it was no wonder that this stump smelled so much like mice, for as soon as Sly returned, out come another one. If his love of mice was going to keep him alive, his love of eggs just might be the death of him.
Get the heck out of here!
Yeah, this is absolutely very 100% staged.
That was too close. He headed for home as fast as he possibly could. But when he got there, someone had dropped in.
All right, you're right.
Get the heck out of here!
This would be a lot of effort to rotoscope. But it would be great if we could just summon that man to appear on top of the video.
Surprise!
That was too close. He headed for home as fast as he possibly could. But when he got there, someone had dropped in for dinner. So life's journey went on for Sly the Orphan Fox.
Oh good, it doesn't end with him dying. Wildlife Unlimited. Bill Porter Sr. and his family. Literally everyone is his family except for Dan. His wife is the stunt driver.
I'd like to give a special thanks to
The character of the farmer.
for her help and support, as well as her camera work, and to John Porter, tape operations, and many hours of assistance.
His wife and
in our
kid.
day-to-day work. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there. And my Jeep takes me there. Promotional consideration.
How did this guy get...
Airlines, where there is something special
From-
in the air.
For sportsman's more than just a hunt.
Oh my God.
Or a fisherman.
I'm sorry. This is too much at once. There's a song. I'm so excited for the song, but also how did this guy get promotional funding from Jeep and American Airlines? Did he? Is Jeep paying him for this mention? Or does he just really like Jeep that much? Is he just simping for Jeep? I'm recording this whole segment at the end here. William Porter played the farmer.
I'd like to give a special thanks to Rose Porter for all of her help and support, as well as her camera work, and to John Porter, tape operations, and many hours of assistance in our day-to-day work. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there. And my Jeep takes me there.
I'll take you there.
Promotional consideration to the American Airlines, where there is something special.
The American Airline?
Sportsman's more than just a hunter or a fisherman. There's things to see to all the mind of many a mortal man. From the way the wild protect their young to canyons carved in sand. Oh, don't take them all as you recall. We're for Wildlife Unlimited. Yes, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited. Wherever you go, recall that creed.
This is amazing.
Keep the wildlife unlimited.
Wow. Okay. That was Bill Porter. That was a glimpse into the mind of Bill Porter, and I love it. This is exactly what Golden VCR is all about. Scimitar Entertainment. Oh, it has to be. It has to be. The tracking on this logo seems to be holding out okay, so I'm going to record this segment too. Whew. Warning. The material contained herein is protected by the international copyright laws. Unauthorized reproduction, exhibition, or distribution in whole or in part can result in severe criminal and civil penalties under the laws of your country. Wow. Boy. Thank you, Bella Bunny, for sending this in. That was great. That was great. Sly the Orphan Fox from Wildlife Unlimited. I'm just going to Google real quick. Bill Porter, Vesper, Wisconsin. Bill Porter Sr. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Sorry. Wildlife. There is an official Bill Porter wildlife video website. We have a brief moment for this. Hold on. I'm going to pull this up. This is wildlifevideo.tripod.com. And I cannot remove this ad, this banner ad, so you can see the beautiful graphic. But there you go. It says wildlifevideo.com. It is not. It is a tripod website. Bill Porter Sr. made his first video production in 1976 entitled Bicentennial Turkey Hunt. In the 80s, Bill used his past video experience to start making a syndicated outdoor television series called The Wildlife Unlimited Show, ran on a number of stations, like public access throughout the Midwest. He met former Governor Warren Knowles of Wisconsin, who was so impressed by Bill's filming of wildlife that he suggested Bill start a foundation to educate people. They produced over 50 wildlife videos and 18 sing-along videos in 31 years of existence. God. Bill's wife, Rose, stands in as assistant camera person when needed. His son, John, has done most of the audio and graphics work, as well as most of the video editing. In his last few years. That sounds ominous. Oh, Bill died in 2020. Now we are going to videotape and produce a series of horsemanship tips for our show's videos as never before seen. Footnote, no one has written, videotaped, produced, and distributed more educational wildlife videotapes than Bill and Rose Porter. God, what a gem. This is exactly what Golden VCR is all about. And, oh no. the ads. Tripod has been overrun by ads, and it's no longer possible for me to view a Tripod website in an OBS browser source. Cool. That was a beautiful, beautiful tape and a beautiful song. On this Memorial Day, let us remember Bill Porter. And thank you to Bella for sending that in. Thank you to everyone for being here. If you were hoping to be depressed by the Challenger disaster or intrigued by the investigation, we will have to do that next stream, which will be Wednesday. It's Monday, right? Yes, Wednesday. Wednesday, 10 a.m. So until then, folks, happy Memorial Day to you. Hope you have a fun one. Have a nice week. And I'll see you back here soon.